Good afternoon. This is a brief message from the Hepatitis B Trust with respect to A&E testing for hepatitis B, HIV and Hep C that's taking place. We're looking at some 2 million plus now tests having been done in the UK, principally England, for these three viruses. And this project's a wonderful project. It's the first opportunity for trying to find the hundreds of thousands undiagnosed with hepatitis B in the UK. Bearing in mind that 2/3 of the infected are men, maternity testing is never really going to find more than a sixth of this pandemic. The project has been rolling for quite a while now and has tested large numbers. It's been motored mainly by HIV charities and focused in areas where the prevalence of HIV is very high. South London, Brighton, Manchester, inner city areas. And it's been motored by, the Elton John Foundation, the National AIDS Trust, Terence Higgins Trust, Liver Trust has been somewhat involved, Hep C Trust, and of course the NHS England and many of the participating emergency departments. It's been really pushed, and this is our brave members outside the Houses of Parliament number 10. Members of those charities, not my members, and also celebrities. The fantastic Sir Elton John has done untold amounts for blood viral awareness in the UK. But what it boils down to is it's so much for me and the Hepatitis B Trust UK to point out that you went out there desperately trying to find 5,000 undiagnosed people with HIV. But look at what you found. This is a breakdown graph of 1 million tests done for each virus at the A&E department's casualty. And you can see that if we look over here, new cases of hepatitis B found per million blood tests were 3,400. 3,400. 1 in 300 tests done for Hep B in the UK in A&E finds someone who's undiagnosed with the deadly virus. Someone who's been wandering around with deadly Hep B, completely unaware. This is 5 times the amount of undiagnosed HIV and 3 times the amount of undiagnosed hepatitis C. So we've been saying for 15 years that hepatitis B is booming in the UK, under the radar, undiagnosed, unprevalent. And this testing has 100% vindicated our stance and our constant call for more investment in care, more investment in awareness. But look at the figures. The figures just scream out loud for themselves. And my helpline, we've only just got through dealing with the thousands, tens of thousands affected by transfusions. And now there's this. There are reports written. There was a 12-month interim report after a bit of testing had gone on, about 2.5, 3 million tests for all three viruses. And the highest proportion of undiagnosed new cases was Hep B. And this is the point, readily admitted. There's been substantial effort and commitment to find Hep C and HIV, and pretty much nothing for Hep B. And Hep B is the one that's 5 times the size undiagnosed as HIV. 5 times the size. You can't make this up. This is scary information. the NHS is still messing about assuming 206,000 people have hepatitis B in England. The testing reveals perhaps double that is out there. It does admit that the large proportion are undiagnosed, not in care. One of the great things that's come up is there's an awareness that Hep B is caught by small children, that 95% of new diagnoses are people who are infected as tiny, innocent children overseas. And that's my point. Don't we love tiny, innocent children? Aren't they worth protecting from a deadly virus that's killing more than World War II? Can't we find it in our hearts to find the resources, the educational materials to create a testing that finds them and cares for them? The majority of people are undiagnosed. So let's just keep going. The 12-month report also showed up that for the first 12 months, 38% of those who were diagnosed with Hep B were not referred to clinical care. That's even more terrifying, that we're finding them and then we're throwing them away to die 2/3 of the time for the first 12 months. It's now up to less than half, 47% are cared for. The rest are left to play Russian roulette with liver cancer. And it needs to be remembered that 13% of people presenting to A&E with Hep B had liver cancer. They're dead. 5-year survival rate. Hep C's got a cure. HIV has got fantastic medications. Liver cancer, end-stage liver disease, 5-year survival, tops. So we can't leave these people out there. We did an audit of 1,000 people who rung us with Hep B, and we found exactly what was quoted by NHS England, that the vast bulk, 75%, were infected as small children. We break that down that the next largest group were infected socially, that's from blood. We must remember that Hep B is 100 times more infectious in blood to a wound than HIV. This is a virus that everyone can catch. And socially, we've got piercing, we've got tattooing, we've got vast arrays of transmission mediums, contact sports, forgetting your plasters in school, accidents. You catch Hep B. And then the next big lump was work. There are 20 professions that work with blood. 1 in 14 nurses used to catch Hep B before vaccination. People who are chefs, glaziers, cleaners, first aiders. They're in the front line of catching this. We've talked to over 400 organisations about vaccinating their staff. That's from prisons down to washing machine manufacturers and the beauty industry. And the tiniest groups, not more than 6-7% of the total, were transmissions where we could itemise that, yes, sex or drugs was involved. So this stigma, this problem that the blood viruses are all about gay sex or chem sex or unprotected rampant liaisons or drug abuse or being in prison, we need to reboot our whole consciousness. Certainly we must love and care for those groups. To an extent, we've spent billions of pounds already caring. But what about the 75%, this huge chunk that were just little innocent small children? Moving on, the actual age demographic of when they caught their blood virus across the whole of A&E is still more children than adults. And I think this understanding is a very important one to motivate care, compassion and love, but also to destigmatize. 1 in 4 humans have caught Hep B. Testing your risk is nothing to be ashamed of. The prevalence found in accident and emergency was 0.7%, which averages to about 412,000 infections, more like, than 206,000 infections. And again, I'm calling out to Dr. Hill Tao, NHS England. Get in touch. Can we talk? Please. And going back to the all-important structure here, 3,400 new diagnoses of Hep B, 5 times HIV, 3 times Hep C. What are we going to do? Yeah, there's no care. There's not even a linked to care pathway designed properly. More than half are not being brought into a care system. Let's do something about it. We are a national charity. We've got 15 years track record in the NICE guidelines. We've been stakeholders there. We were the ones that begged non-stop for universal vaccination of every newborn. We've been begging for 15, 20 years for vastly improved testing and border safety testing. People are crawling out of endemic areas. Do you really think that there isn't a pandemic out there? Hundreds of millions of people have this. We are importing millions and millions of people from these areas. Let's test them all. Let's find them all. Let's make them safe. Now with Hep B, when you're told you've got something 100 times more infectious than HIV, they need emotional support. If they're 3 months pregnant, they need emotional support. They knew not, for 15 years, the first comment about Hep B is, what is that? And the second one is, how did I get it? That's how much education the patient in general needs. Lifestyle support, Hep B has no cure. We've got to teach them how to look after their livers or die. We've got to teach them exactly how to get the best out of the NHS care pathway. We can do it. We've been doing it for 15 years. We want to engage with people with this tidal wave of new people being diagnosed and do something. And I'm going to be contacting all these agencies and probably another 20 on top. I will be sending copies of this little video blast in a hope of preparing the ground and talking about the large array of tools and opportunities for care that's there. We're going to be diagnosing tens of thousands, please God, 100,000-200,000 people with Hep B. Let's get in place what we know. Destigmatized, proper care, patient-centric, doctor-led. We can do this now. Please work with us. Let's do this.